Next, let's add more asset in our scene. Based on the environment you want to create in, feel free to just type different keywords in the Unity Asset Store. And of course, if you find something just perfect and you have the budget, feel free to purchase asset that costs a little bit of money. Or if you're not planning to spend any money, just click on the free asset, and then you can work on what's available without any additional charge. Okay, so I will just download like a house over here, the Baker house. And I think I downloaded this one already before. Yeah, so you can see now I just need to click on import and put it in my asset folder. Okay, so feel free to experiment and find different assets that will work. And then you can, in this tutorial, I will show you how you can import a asset you download from asset store, and then how to put that into the scene. Okay, and cool. Okay, so here is the scene, and let's where will be the where you can find the file that you just downloaded. It will be under your asset folder. As you can see, this is the Baker house. Now the Baker house is inside the asset folder. Okay, so here, when you have found the folder, double click on it and see what's inside. So usually you will see like different stuff inside. There's material, there's texture, there's the model. There's also like different model in the scene. Okay, so the usually the easiest way and usually a good asset, they will put everything in one place in this folder called prefab, means prefabrication. So it means the prefab has all the model apply with the required material and texture. So you don't have to apply them separately. All you need to do is find the prefab folder and simply, just like what you did with the FPS controller, just drag and drop it in your scene. Okay, just like that. So I just place my Baker house in the scene. Of course, I'll use the move tool, and you can also scale it if needed. And also when you move it, you can also rotate it if you want to. And just make sure your asset is like placed on the terrain. It's not like way below or way above. Okay, so here I think it's fine over there. So let's test it and see how this Baker house work in our terrain. Cool. So that's the Baker house. It looks a little weird. You can see on this part because I have a little slope, so it's not. It's kind of like floating half way in the air. So that it's not too difficult of a fix. Just rotate it a little bit. Okay, and then move it down, so it will kind of work a little bit better in the scene. Yeah, it looks slightly better. Okay, so here's our Baker house, and let's see it in the scene again. So it looks good in the scene and it's placed properly. And let's walk in there. So what happened is an asset that you download from the asset store, it doesn't have any collision. So if it's, you can see the tree actually has a collision. We cannot walk past this tree. So it creates a nice kind of effect that this tree actually exists. If everything can be go through, then either your setting is like player is a ghost, or obviously the object feel they're not really there, right? And maybe you want to have the player to go into the building, but this is definitely not, doesn't look good because usually the layer, the material, they're only one-sided. So the easiest way to avoid this is to create a collider. So avoid having the viewers to go past the object in the scene. Okay, so yeah, I feel like the light is nice and dark, but I'll increase the brightness so we can see a little bit better. Okay, so here is our house, and I will create a just a cube to show you what if an object has a collider. So all of the 3D object, those are primitive item, they have a collider on them already. So you can see when I select it in the inspector panel, it has a box collider checked. Okay, so with the collider, it will do similar to the trees earlier that we tested. We cannot pass through it. You can see here's the cube. We cannot pass through it. We got blocked. And when we keep walking, we will either kind of slide away or block behind it. Okay, so this is the collider is working. So how can we add a collider on this house? So to do that, we add component by clicking. I'll make sure you're selecting the house. Add component and find physics. And here's the box collider. You can, depends on the shape of the object, you can use box collider, capsule collider, sphere collider, up to you. In this case, I think box collider will work. Okay, so this green thing, kind of along with the house, this is the box collider. Okay, if the collider, when it automatically generates, it doesn't perfectly fit with your object, you can also change the size very easily by selecting, again, click on the object that has the collider. You can see now the box collider showing here. You can increase the size over here. You can drag on the X or on the Y to increase the size. So you can also, of course, type the value here. Or click on the Edit Collider, turn on that button so you can kind of adjust on the individual side of the collider. Okay, so let's hit play. So now the collider is working. We won't be able to walk past the house. Okay. So cool, collider works great. What else we can potentially apply this effect in other situation? Okay. So a good things to use the collider is, for example, if you have water, or if you have, if your player is very close to like an edge that you don't, or a cliff that you don't want the player to fall in there. So for example here, we have this lake. It looks really nice outside, but if you're curious, you probably have tried that already. If you go into the water, same with the house, and the water is only visible on one side. So it looks weird when you go into the water. Okay, so if you have any certain area you don't want the player to pass or go in there or like fall into a pit, you can use the collider too. Okay, so I'll show you how to do it. For example, we can actually just use this cube we just created earlier. I'll make it taller. Okay, am I making it taller? No. Okay, yeah, here's the making it taller. And then because this cube, it has a collider, so we won't be able to walk past it. So I can use this as a wall to block the player to go to places that I don't want them to go. Okay, for example, what if I don't want them to go near the lake to see that weird effect that when they go into the lake, things will look weird. Okay, so I can create like a wall over here. So of course, feel free to build multiple wall or make it longer so it will cover the whole edge of the lake. Okay, so sure, now we have the wall and obviously we cannot walk past it, but it looks ugly and it's just blocking everything. What if I want the wall to be invisible? Actually very easy with the collider and what else is in the inspector of this cube is this mesh renderer. Okay, simply uncheck it. So you see now the collider is still there, but it's not rendering it when we hit play. So now we don't see the wall, but when we try to go closer to the lake, you can see this invisible wall is working. It's kind of blocking the player to go to places you don't want them to go. So use the collider as a very useful tool to create a boundary so your player won't go past it. Okay, so you can also create invisible collider just by simply uncheck the renderer. Okay, so yeah, same thing if you uncheck mesh renderer for any object in the scene, it will still be there, but it's not going to be rendered.